Vi skal treffe en som unnslapp døden så vidt. Da vår neste gjest var 19 år gammel, så ble han nemlig dømt til døden for drapet på en ung kvinne. Og tross veldig svake bevis så ble han altså dømt til dødsstraff og tilbrakte 20 år av sitt liv på Death Row i Texas. Uskyldig dømt. I kveld er han gjest her hos oss, men se på dette først.
Tyler Secretary Linda Jo Edwards was murdered and mutilated in her apartment complex in 1977. Cook had been visiting a friend at Linda Jo's apartment building. He went to trial for the first time on June 8, 1977. He was found guilty of capital murder and spent 9 years on death row before his conviction was overturned in 1987.
Kerry Cook, welcome to Sweden.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me on your show.
These pictures are from the trial, and there has been several trials. I wonder first, why were you arrested?
I was 19 years old. I was temporarily staying at an apartment complex in Tyler, Texas called the Embarcadero. Tyler's about 90 miles east of Dallas. And I met this girl. She was 22 years old at the apartment complex swimming pool. We talked for a while, we flirted, and eventually she invited me back to her apartment, and I went back with her by the pool. Her apartment was by the pool, and we made out. She put some passion marks on my neck, and that was it. And then 3 days later, she was found brutally raped and murdered, stabbed 28 times, and murdered. And 2 months later, I was arrested for a murder. What happened in America, we have, before someone can be arrested, they have to find probable cause. Well, backing up a little bit, I'd been in trouble with the police as a juvenile, as a kid. I gained a reputation as a troublemaker. And so, anyway, when they ran my fingerprint, they found it on their patio door. When they ran my fingerprint to the law enforcement computer, they came up with a match. And a detective called that match the killer's calling card. Well, there's no way to scientifically age a fingerprint. It's impossible, not in June of 1977 and not to this day. But he said that fingerprint had to have been placed there 6 to 12 hours before the murder, and there was no other way it could have been placed there. It was really, really shocking from start to finish. It happened really quick.
And what went through your head when you actually got the death sentence?
You know, I get asked that question a lot, and I go back to the same thing. It was total disbelief and shock. I turned 20 years old in solitary confinement, but you know, I grew up. My father was a decorated soldier in the military. I grew up very conservatively. My family were Republicans, and I believed in baseball, apple pie, and Chevrolet, and I still do. I love my country. If a war broke out, I would die for my country, America. I love America, but you know, these mistakes are made, and when they pronounced me guilty and then rapidly sentenced me to death, I couldn't believe it. The shock didn't wear off until I walked on the Texas death row and was met pretty much by a knife and 4 inmates who raped me.
The first day?
The first week I was there. See what happened?
You were raped?
Yeah, the prison is a very judgmental society. Anywhere there's prison in the world, it's a very judgmental society. I was stabbed, and I was raped several times, and they carved obscenities all on my body with a knife. I have them today, the scars.
Is it like 20 years in this place? Is it like a survival game?
No, it was a survival.
Or is it like a war zone? I mean, it's...
No, I was on the front lines of a war that never ended. There was no breaks. There was no foxhole sleeping, pull a tent over your head. It was every day was psychological warfare, and it was a fight for survival. You see, prison or death row is a repository for every imaginable mental, emotional illness, and I lived in fear, hypervigilant every day of my life that if I wasn't gonna die being executed innocent, I was gonna die on the floor of this Texas prison system.
You were there, and you knew you were innocent. Didn't you just, from time to time, want to give up?
I did have those. I did have those thoughts. You know, when my brother was murdered, my only support, and my father died of cancer, and then my mother left me. I admit to falling down. I took a razor blade and I severed my carotid artery, and I tried to kill myself, and they saved me. They saved me so they could execute me. And I said to myself that I'd rather take my own life than lie down on a Texas gurney and allow them to pump me full of lethal dose of cocktails innocent. I'd rather die myself.
How close were you to execution? They move that date all the time, I know.
Right. I came within 11 days before the United States Supreme Court reversed my conviction. But, you know, you may think 11 days, but when you're sitting on death row facing the executioner, that could have been 11 seconds to me, because when you're given a execution date in America, it's 30 days out. You have 30 days, and you get to 29, 28. You're getting closer. The closer you get, the more doubtful it is to get a stay. And so, about the time I hit that 11th day, I was beginning to the realization of really being put to death innocent was beginning to set in, and I was scared. I thought I wasn't afraid of death, but when you get 11 days from known death, when you know you're going to die, and they tell you how you're going to die, when you're going to die, I was getting pretty scared.
How was, when people were executed, other people were executed, how was the atmosphere then?
You know, when someone would be transferred for execution, and the night when they'd announce on the radio that the person was put to death, the 30th person put to death since resumption of capital punishment, the place was as quiet as a church. I mean, you couldn't even hear breathing. It was dead quiet, because people knew that same death that it came to him was coming for them too. And every time they executed someone, it put you that much closer to the execution chamber. And they knew it. We knew it. I knew it.
Was it any was it any light at all in there? Did you have any sort of possibilities for something nice, like, I mean, books, television?
I would watch those soap operas, and normal things that people take for granted when I would see in a soap opera, like a man leaning over to kiss a woman, falling in love, or holding hands, or they do a little soap opera scene where they walk in, there's the Christmas tree, and there's a little kid, you know, anticipating Christmas, was such profound pain for me, because I know that possibly would never be me kissing that woman, that would never be me having that happiness, never that child, never that Christmas tree, never that dog, never that freedom. So it was painful.
There were several rounds in the court system with your case, and it's very complicated, but at one point you were offered a deal.
They said, plead guilty and we'll let you go free. And I told the prosecution in the district attorney's office, with my lawyer standing there, I said, this is all I have left is my innocence. I'm an innocent man. I did not commit this rape and murder. I said, I'm willing to die for this. I won't plead guilty to something I didn't do. I'd rather go to Texas, Huntsville, and be executed. So they offered me that deal, and I summarily rejected it. Well, the United States Supreme Court, in a case called Alford versus State, ruled that an innocent defendant could plead out to a case, even though innocent, if it meant escaping farther punishment, or prosecution. So they offered me that Alford-like plea, and it was absolutely no admission of guilt. And I took it, and I went free. And 2 months later, the DNA test results from the law enforcement crime lab came through, and the DNA was the original suspect in this case. It belonged to him, her 45-year-old ex-married lover.
How would you say your life is today?
Today,
it's 10 years now. It's 10 years since you were released.
It's 10 years, but I'm still haunted by it. I still feel like I'm in prison in some ways. I still live with the horror of what happened to me. I still feel like I'm on death row in some ways. The DNA completely scientifically exonerated me, and yet I still have a conviction. And you may think here in Scandinavia or Sweden that, well, you're free, what does it matter? Well, it really matters because I can't get an apartment, I can't get a job. At the end of the day, no matter how famous my story is, I'm still that death row guy. So it took me 10 years to get to the point where I'm at, where I wrote a book. I was in a movie called The Exonerated, and now I'm asking our governor of Texas, Governor Rick Perry, to take this away from me and restore what I should have, complete factual innocence, and set me free.
And now you're here with Amnesty International, and
I was invited here to Norway by Amnesty International.
But do you sleep at night?
No, sleep is hard because even though it's been 10 years later, you would have to be witness to the violence that I witnessed. I got to tell you that the only thing that saved me is I have a son. He's 9 years old. His name's Kerry Justice Cook. That's the only justice I ever got from Texas. And you know, I was so selfishly, I wanted him so badly, but as he's grown older, I wonder if it was too selfish to want that love so much, because his legacy, my legacy is now his. And you know, we've been asked to leave 2 different neighborhoods, and because once they found out I was on death row, they never look at innocence. They just look, 22 years on death row, he must be dangerous. But, you know, my son is everything I have, and I thought that I was going to change his life, but it's him who's changed mine.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
And you're from Texas. Are you a fan of country music?
I like country music, but I'm more of a fan of the old school, like Johnny Cash, Charlie Daniels, Conway Twitty, Loretta Lynn. I like the old school stuff.
Well, let's hope Toby Keith can convince you. Vår neste gjest er nemlig en sterk patriotisk, i og for seg countrysanger som har skapt overskrifter med sin uttalte støtte til krigen i Afghanistan blant annet. Dette har gjort ham omstridt, men også meget populær i både USA og resten av verden. Se bare på dette.
That's us, that's right. Gotta love this American ride. Both ends of the ozone burning. Funny how the world keeps turning. Look, Mom, no hands. I love this American ride. Gotta love this American ride.
Please welcome Toby Keith.
Hey, brother. Good to see you again. Great story, man. Great story. How you doing, Fred?
Welcome to Sweden.
It's good to be here. We've had a great run.
Good to have you here. You know, country music, it's huge here in Scandinavia, actually.
Well, we've been trying to tour over here for 4 or 5 years. We've been kind of had it our way in the States for 15, but for some reason we never could connect with this part of the world, and we're doing it finally.
Are you in a way surprised how popular it is?
I was surprised at how fast the show sold out and how many songs they knew.
You're quite well known for your patriotism.
Mm-hmm.
How do you define patriotism?
Well, first of all, my dad was in the service, and he came home from in the 50s while doing combat training missions, and he lost his eye in a Jeep accident. And so he was a big John Wayne kind of guy that had heavy influence over us kids. And he wouldn't allow solicitors in his house. If you came to the door hawking your wares, selling your stuff, you had to go away. But if a veterans organization showed up, he would allow them in the house. So at a young age, it was instilled in us to respect your country, your commander-in-chief. And you could disagree with them, but you had utmost respect for the people who defended you day and night, and more so than anybody else. So my definition of patriotism is understand your freedoms and your limitations at the same time, and respect your commander-in-chief, and try to you have the freedom to disagree, but love your country, baby, and I love it.
Do you feel like a patriot?
Oh yes, of Norway, yeah, sure, big time.
Okay.
I brag about Norway to all my friends from other countries all the time. I brag about the fact that we have such a low murder rate in Norway, and I brag about the fact that our policemen aren't armed, and people are impressed by the fact.
And great schools, the state
and
pays for the schools,
I mean,
social services are amazing.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
What about you? Do you feel like a patriot after what?
Yeah, I feel like a patriot. I grew up like Toby did. When he was talking, I was quite shocked by the similarities. My dad was a decorated soldier, 28 years, and I also believe in supporting my country as a loyal citizen. But also the beauty about my country is that you can agree with certain political aspects of it without being anti-patriotic. You can still love your country, but you can disagree. And I disagree with the death penalty because as it pertains to executing innocent people, but